Go back to South Carolina, go back to Georgia, go back to Louisiana, go back to the slums and ghettos of our northern cities. Knowing that somehow this situation can and will be changed. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friend, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow,
yes,
I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream.
Good morning and welcome to Lovebabz Love Talk. I'm Babz Rawls Ivy, and today in studio, this is a special conversation today. I have Dory Dumas, the executive director of the Greater New Haven NAACP, and Sandy Jackson, who is the conference chair for MLK Day of Service, the annual conference that goes on at Webster School.
yes,
Yes.
So we are talking about the importance of MLK. And so it's nice to sort of hear MLK's words underneath this conversation.
yes.
Good morning.
Great way to
Good
segue.
morning.
And today is his birthday.
Today's his
Today
actual
is his
birthday.
birthday.
And I so
Would have
appreciate
been
y'all.
90.
90.
Yes,
Can you
90.
imagine?
Yes.
Old.
90 years old. And I was reminding someone, I said, when he started this journey, this work, he was a young man.
Yes, he was. And that's also something I try to remind young people, because a lot of times they don't have the courage. But I'm like, you can do this. He did it. Others did it. You can start in college and high school and empower yourself. He was doing that work for years. I mean, he started as a young man.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's an example that we like to use when we talk to young people.
Because I think people forget how radical
yes.
and how like sort of in your face he was. People, we've over the years sort of sanitized him and given him this elder statesman kind of vibe.
Yes. But really, he put it on the table. He was straightforward, and he told the country, this is what we need. This is what's happening, and change has to happen. And he talked about that ongoing.
Yes.
And he called people on things when it wasn't right, and he tried to hold everybody accountable. And I think he really just was beyond his years, even as a young man. And today we honor his legacy and we thank him. And by doing these kinds of events, we try to keep his dream alive, because we still have a long way to go.
Oh, God.
And we're talking about 50 years later, and we're still struggling through. But he had the vision, and he had direction, and he talked about that. And that was awesome.
And, I think also he was very authentic in what he did.
Yes.
He was passionate. He was truthful. He was honest. And so in light of speaking from the heart and what he felt was right, then that was so important for that time. And I think that's why the legacy continues on, because again, as we embrace the ideals that he had, we honor that, and we appreciate that. And so that's a part of mentorship and a part of us striving to continue the work that he's done.
Yes. So how long has the MLK Day of Service conference been going on?
Believe it or not, this is the 50th anniversary of the conference.
Are you kidding?
So it started 50 years ago.
Absolutely.
At the Dixwell Community House. So, the Q,
Wow.
the Q House. So there's such a legacy with this conference. Organizations came together, churches came together, the community activists, individuals, educators, organizations, officials, and came together because they felt that there was a need to address or a need to remember Dr. King. And in speaking with Jacqueline Bracey, who was one of the sheroes in the beginning, the people that began the conference, and she shared that she said, well, Sandy, actually, it started out as a youth conference. So this was for the youth, by the youth. They were the speakers, they were the workshop presenters, and it was an opportunity for them to show their independence and also provide a service to their own community.
And if you remember, it's a few years after he was assassinated. So we were still healing. We still needed to, talk about the issues that he was talking about at that time. That was right around the civil rights era, ending and the 1964 and all those things. So you're talking the really late 60s, when everything in New Haven, everyone was very, very proactive around civil rights, around keeping his dream alive.
And the Panthers were very much here.
Very
Yes,
much
very
here.
Right?
Very
so
much
all
here.
of that.
I can speak to that because even going to living in that area, the Panthers were feeding us in the morning, giving us breakfast and empowering us as young Black people. So that was all happening around the time that this conference started.
Wow. That's an incredible history.
Yes.
So you all haven't always, the Sisters of Alpha Kappa Alpha hasn't always been the leadership on this. It's sort of morphed over the years,
Yes.
right? Different people have taken on the reins of making sure that this continues.
Right.
Yes.
So they had a solid committee for years through the Q House. And
Mhm.
then maybe about 20 plus years ago, we said we have to bring this back, especially those of us like Sandy, myself, that grew up in New Haven, who remembered
Yeah.
how wonderful it was and how productive it was and how impactful it was. And as a sorority, we said that it was important that we bring it back, but we didn't want it to be just our event because it never was one person, one organization. So we reached out to all of the organizations in the area and we said, we need you to come together. We need to start this back because it fell off just a few years. And through Alpha Kappa Alpha, we collaborated first with Omega Psi Phi Epsilon Iota chapter. We went to the BNP and all the other groups, the churches, and said, we're coming back. We're bringing this back. And we really got a lot of support. And throughout, so once we brought it back, and now it's just growing and growing. And some years we've had like 500 plus, and other years, sometimes, depending on what we're doing. This year, it's our 50th. So we're hoping that people come out. So we're glad that you're having us here. But really, Alpha Kappa Alpha took the lead, but we didn't do that alone. We did it with partnership and collaboration.
And of course, we could not have done it without New Haven Public Schools, of course. Our focus is to certainly educate the children and their parents. So this is taking it one step beyond. While it started out as a youth conference, when we were trying to be visionary of how can we be more impactful, we broaden our perspective. So not only does it provide opportunities for students from kindergarten through 12th grade, but we also have an adult component for the workshops. And then to take it one step further, we also started an opportunity for there to be local vendors. So we have the MLK marketplace in which we seek out like about 50,
I'm coming for that.
Yes.
Great.
Wonderful.
50 vendors and exhibitors to provide information to the public and to also be able to share their wares with the community.
Well, because you know what is important? Because if you don't know where these vendors are, you won't find them.
Absolutely.
So these kinds of events allows you to buy Black
Yes.
without a whole lot of effort to go
And
over
the vendors
there,
come
go-
from all over. We
Yeah.
come from New York,
New
from
Jersey.
everywhere,
Yeah.
New Jersey.
Oh, I remember because
Yes.
I go. I mean, I go for all the other things too.
Yes.
But it is a wonderful opportunity if you want to buy Black
Yeah.
Yes.
and get a jump start on whatever your gift season is.
Absolutely.
All these wonderful things that that you probably would not be able to sort of do. I don't want to get away from the purpose of the thing, but I think that's important because I think people often forget that we have businesses.
Yes.
and that people have
But
things to sell.
Dr. Martin Luther King was about economics, and this is in the business side of it is the economic side of it, and we're empowering Black businesses, and we're actually people take their cards. They don't just purchase things that day. Sometimes they put in orders, and it's important. So that is part of his dream as well. So we continue that on all levels, and I think the conference offers something for everyone. Even our senior citizens come out, they have a great time, from the young people, the babies, the entertainment, the workshops. And we really try with the workshops to kind of hit every area of life, through health. We have exercise. We have some of our local barbers who come and give free haircuts to the young men. We have the New Haven Fire Department has been a wonderful sponsor and partner. They come every year and really talk about fire safety. So we're talking, and we have, of course, stories around Dr. Martin Luther King. This year is something special around art and really empowering through art. So there's so many different things. And we have, like you said, we have the job component. So we have
the Connecticut Works bus is going to be parked out in the front to provide opportunities for individuals. If they're looking for jobs, they can go on the computer. Someone will be there to work them through job search.
That's pretty good.
To talk about
because this is a day off for a lot of people.
It is a day off.
So this
but
is
we call it it's a day off. We say don't make it a day off. Make it a day on of something positive, something impactful, and really coming out to hear and be reminded about Dr. King's dream, but also supporting something positive in our community.
So when you plan this, Sonda, because you're the chair this year, so what happens? When do you start planning, and what is the overall theme this year?
Well, generally we start planning like in August, putting in the permits and starting the work that has to be done, because a program such as this cannot be funded without support as well. So we do have corporate and organizational sponsors. So the event, Cornell Scott Hill Health, Farmers Insurance, the United Way, Community Foundation for Greater New Haven, and certainly all of the fraternities and sororities, and we'll talk about them as well. They all give financially to support this event. Certainly, again, with the New Haven Public Schools wrapped around us, this is how this event carries on. And so it's a planning process so that we can make sure that we've tapped into different areas and that we have something for everybody to celebrate Dr. King's birthday.
So what is the theme this year?
This year's theme is Visions from the Mountaintop.
Oh, I like that.
So the nice thing is the students at Wexler Grant Community School and the teachers have also embraced the theme. So as individuals walk throughout the building, they'll see the students' reflections of visions from the mountaintop. So the teachers have really embraced it, and the students are writing information about it and doing their schoolwork from the perspective of Dr. Martin Luther King's vision and what their vision is. If they were on the mountaintop, what would their vision be? So even our little ones have shared in that experience, and they're writing what their vision is for the world as well.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. I really like that.
And they'll be doing some artwork and some art pieces around that theme as well.
Okay.
So that's new this year. We have a couple of really wonderful new workshops. I mean, we have the standard workshops, which people love, and it is all about really uplifting, educating. So, I mean, we have all types of workshops, but we have some new ones, and Sandy can speak to that.
So the Family Paint Day. So it's an intergenerational painting opportunity in which a trained art teacher from our school is working on a mural. She's already done one that reflects Dr. Martin Luther King. So she's working on another mural that will hang in the building. So everybody will have their hands in creating that work.
I like that everybody will have their hands in creating this.
And so we're looking forward to that. And then there, as we mentioned, the career coaching, and there certainly be exercise, Zumba, yoga, to get your mind and your body right for children and adults. So we'll have that opportunity, and certainly political awareness, financial planning. So we always try to have something and some type of workshop that will empower, enlighten, and encourage.
I like that. I like that very much. So when you plan this and you bring everybody together and you sort of create a theme, and then you start to build workshops around that theme?
Well, what we try to do is streamline your workshops. So we have something in health, something in finance, something in education.
Things that are important to our community.
Things that are important to our communities. Yeah. And then we have workshop presenters that come to us every year. And so when we started to streamline the workshops, then we try to make sure they're in series as well. So if you wanted to go to something in health, all 3 workshops actually deal with the health in a different aspect of health.
Okay.
So if you choose to do that, then you can have a series of workshops or explore and do other things as well. So we really try to make the information that will be useful and helpful for any of those persons that are attending and young people that are attending the workshops, and make it exciting and interesting for them as well.
Okay.
And
we also, for the young people, we do stories about Dr. Martin Luther King, because we start as young, some of them are in kindergarten, but some of them are actually younger than that. And they talk about it. So they do storytelling. We have drumming, that's always part of our culture. So, I mean, it's really a wonderful cultural event as well as educational event. And it's a way, sometimes people come there and really leave with information that is much needed. We
Yes.
have someone talking about how, if you have a record and you want to, clear your record, how to go about doing that. What's the steps to doing that?
Mhm.
So we're really trying to touch every aspect of life that, in our community that matters, and really uplift people. And we have experts and expertise and people who do this as a living that give of their time. But we also just have people who care and want to come out and volunteer. So you get a wide range of volunteers. And every year we look for new ones. We get some of the same ones that come back, and we're always open to new workshop ideas, workshop presenters. And we try to make it interesting. So every year we'll do a little something different, but for the most part, we keep it standard around just positive things that affect us in our community.
So will there be food at this event?
Absolutely. And free.
I
so
had
you
not to ask.
You get a full breakfast, a hot lunch.
What time is breakfast?
So
Breakfast is at 8:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the nice thing, some years ago, we said, well, there's a way that we need to thank the people that come, and because we start there generally like at 7:00. So we have to find a way to thank people. So we created the Volunteer Center. Thanks to United Way and Elm City Club of the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women's Clubs Incorporated, they sponsored like the Volunteer Center. So which is really the library at the school. So you can come in, sit down, relax, have a nice hot breakfast, pick up your T-shirt that's been sponsored to us through the Cornell Hill Health.
There's a T-shirt too?
A T-shirt too if you volunteer.
Oh.
And we thank the Cornell Scott Hill Health Center for sponsoring our T-shirts. So you can identify yourself as a volunteer. You can come in, you check in, and then you have your assignment, and then you can walk throughout the building with your assignment to your specific area. And then when it's your break time, you can come back and have lunch and be able to socialize.
You're serving lunch too?
We serve
Yes.
lunch too.
So not just for
I'm
the
gonna be there
volunteers.
all
So we
day.
have breakfast and lunch we have a volunteer center, but we serve the public free. And a lot of that, like Sandy said, of course, we get some support around the Board of Education, but a lot of it is through sponsorship. So when people come and give of their day, they don't have to worry about running out to get something. So we have everything right there that you need. And, bagels and coffee and lunch. I mean, real lunch, so not just snacks. We do have some snacks, but because we know
Try to
people are
feed
giving
the
of their
community.
day.
Yeah.
So we make sure that we take care of that. And that's been a wonderful thing. And this is free and open to the public.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you don't hear a lot about organizations and people doing this. And we need to highlight that this happens every year right in our community.
It does.
And we're
Yes.
doing it.
It
We're
does.
doing it.
Yes.
Other people are doing it, and that's wonderful. But this is something that is grassroots, that's from our community, for our community, and we are doing it.
And it's always well attended.
It always
I
is.
can tell because I can't ever find parking right
Yes.
away. So that's how I know.
Yes.
And and we really appreciate the organizations that hang in there with us, because we could not do this without all of the organizations that support us. With the, like I said, the Elm City Club, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. This year, Phi Delta Kappa joined us this year.
The Prince Hall Masons, let's not forget them.
The Prince
Eureka
Hall-
chapter number 2. We have the Daughters and the Shriners and some of everyone. All these organizations come together.
Well, you
and
know
play
what
a
I
part
love
in
about this, Dory, is that, it's all of our organizations.
That's right.
And I'm not so sure people sort of see us in totality.
Right.
They'll see us over here and over there and over there. But this is all of us into totality.
Absolutely.
And some of us do dual roles. Like, if you're an AKA, you're in NAACP.
Yes.
If you're a Delta, you are in the Negro Business and Professional.
Yes.
So there's so many of us that are in all of these organizations already.
Absolutely.
And these are our organizations. And this is a good thing for our community to see that there are organizations in our community that are working for our good.
Working for
Yeah.
our good and working together.
That's what I was
Working
going to say. Because we all
together.
do a lot individually, but it's wonderful that we come together collectively and that this is a collective effort and that we are touching so many lives and doing something positive in our community. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
And I love that it's in the Dixwell Newhall neighborhood.
Yes.
And we want to keep it there because that's where it originated.
Yeah.
There's something about legacy and there's something about history. And although sometimes we're kind of outgrowing our area, but we have to maintain because
Yes.
there's history in that building.
Yes.
And since we're adjacent to the Q House, and we know that the Q House will come back at some point in time, and we're looking forward to that. So that it's important that we keep it in the community.
Can you imagine the first celebration in the new Q House?
Yes, we
yes,
can't imagine it. We're
yes,
ready.
we're-
when it opens, it's going to be phenomenal. And I think, Jeanette Morrison knows it because she grew up in New Haven. Those of us that grew up already know about the MLK conference because most of us attended it as young people, as children, as teens. And so we know and we get it, but we need to make sure that the whole community embraces this because it's a phenomenal thing and it's going to stay in our community. And when it does go to the Q House, when it opens up, it's going to be even grander.
It'll be even bigger and better. And we may have to have like Wexler as the satellite site.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, that would be phenomenal.
I like that.
Like
just a giant
conference.
Yes.
Absolutely. And then one other thing we want to mention too, that we've started doing the Child Identification Comprehensive Program, which is sponsored through King Solomon Lodge 23 Prince Hall Masons. They do a child identification
And what does that
program.
mean? Tell me about that.
They take information and data for the children. So God forbid child gets lost or something happens, the parents will have a little packet so that all the identifying information that they would need to get to authorities or whatever, they would have it in a nice complete packet. So they started doing the child identification program.
That's pretty good because a lot of our children go missing every year.
Yes.
Thousands upon thousands of Black children go missing, particularly girls that go missing every year. And so that would be helpful.
Yes, so we're glad that they have agreed to also provide that service again as well.
And we have, I'm not sure if that's happening this year, but just so people know, there are giveaways like WYBC comes and they have a little table and they give things away. Sometimes we give away coats. We have books. So New Haven Reads is coming. So, I mean, people come. You don't always have to purchase something because not everyone could afford to go and purchase something from the vendors. But there's a lot of little giveaways. People love all the little giveaways. And we just want to highlight that when you come, it's a full experience. So, and we do appreciate like New Haven Reads has been a partner for the last few years. And other groups have come and they were like, look, we have table. We're going to just give these out so that the community can have a certain item. So, I mean, people should come. We never know what that item may be.
Specialty things will be.
But it's always something that is needed in the community. It's always something positive. And I think that people really should come with an open heart, open mind, and ready to embrace the whole experience.
So tell us, when is this event taking place and what time from what time?
So the event is taking place on Monday, January 21st.
And that is the holiday,
That's
legal
the holiday. The
That's
legal
it.
holiday.
Okay.
And we start the breakfast at 8:30, so from 8:30 to 9:30, and then at 9:30 we'll have our official program, the welcoming speakers that will welcome the community, and then we give a layout of what the day is going to look like, and then beginning at 10:30 we start our programs in the workshops, and the workshops will end lunch because we have lunch waves because we have it down systematically. So
all right,
they
now,
have a workshop, and then you may have lunch, and then you have 2 more workshops, and so we had to stagger it so that we can feed everybody and educate everybody. And then in the afternoon, enjoy entertainment. And certainly throughout the day, you can go to the marketplace and see the vendors. So we really have a full day for everyone.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the entertainment. Do you have a sense of who's doing what?
So this year we have entertainment from the Davis Street School Jazz Band.
What?
And their inspirational band.
Oh,
So they
I
have a
have to
new
see
band this
this.
year. So we're really excited about them. Wexler Grant Community School has a new music teacher. So now we have a new Wexler Grant choir that we're excited about.
Really?
Yes, so we're excited about them. And the Hamden Dance Academy with Leah, her dance group is going to perform. We have some dancers from the Monk Center that they're going to perform. And we might have some additional performances because we certainly, want to encourage the students to display their talent on that day.
Okay.
So, but those are some of the acts that we will have during the afternoon.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a wonder. So now, can kids get service credits?
Yes, they can.
Yes, they can.
And they always do. So we do give community credits. And if they come in and they sign in, they have to officially sign in. and volunteer and do the work. But yes, that's a great way for them to get some
So they
community
can come the
service
day
work.
of and sign up.
They can sign up.
And then you can assign them to something or whatever.
Right. They'll be assigned a location of whatever their particular job is. And we actually give them an official document with an MLK seal on it.
Wow.
So that they can, their point person will sign off on it, and they'll be able to give that to their mentor or give that to whomever, their guidance counselor or whoever has to validate that they've done some community service hours.
That's wonderful. I was thinking about that because I know young people need these service hours.
Yes, they do.
And this would be a wonderful
so they can come in and check
opportunity.
in and certainly get credit for their time that they've spent at MLK.
And I have to say that the NAACP will be doing voter registration.
Of course.
So, I mean,
Of
it's always
course.
important in our community that as many people as possible are registered. So we always have, some time where we do some voter registration, because it's not just around election time. We need to make sure any time that in our community that we can, get people to register, we're doing that.
Yes.
So you can look for that as
Yes,
well.
of course. My son registered for the first time with Dory when
Yes,
they
he did.
voter
Wonderful.
registration a couple of years ago.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
And I was so, because he's like 21 now. So when he turned 18, I walked him right over to the NAACP office, and he registered and has been
registered.
voting ever since.
It's wonderful.
So
That's
I'm-
what we like to hear.
Yes. So,
And then one other aspect that we're continuing, as it was many years ago, is the poster and essay contest. So the students will be able to find
this is
out
an annual event, right?
This is an
That part
annual-
is the annual
yes.
event.
And so the students will be able to find out the questions for the essay contest and that will be our kickoff, and for the poster contest. And then they'll find out details about the contest, and it's open for them to participate and to receive a financial reward and some other rewards for their service of working on that.
That's
as
pretty
well.
nice.
Yes.
I like that.
So we try to continue that line of education as well.
Mhm.
The importance of education, literacy, and writing.
Okay. So when you start planning this event, I know you look forward to it every year.
Oh, of course.
I know you look forward to it because this is
This is a January takeover.
So I know I can tell when we start buzzing about MLK and everybody starts thinking about, because I think it would be such a loss if the community didn't have this. And I think you're right. Other places are doing things.
Yes.
But this is
This is for us, by us.
Yes, I
with
like
us.
that. I like
all
that.
of us.
So I know there's got to be some kind of the word. Somebody's got to be delivering a message of hope or something. Or is there somebody giving prayer? Or do we ever have some of that? Or?
Yes. Pastor Johnson Maurice Johnson from Beth Carr Fellowship Church is bringing our invocation. So he's going to be bringing the word to us to certainly open us up in prayer, because we could not do this without prayer. And so we're looking forward to that. And we want to, this year, we'll have a full screen so that everyone can listen to the Dr. Martin Luther King I Have a Dream speech and see it on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll certainly do that this year. So if they haven't seen it, some of the young people may not have seen it in its entirety. So we want to display that. So that
that'll be running all day.
All day.
Oh,
that's a nice touch.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice touch. So you can drop in at any point and
hear the speech, because it's powerful. Embrace the words, embody the words, and so we hope that it will be meaningful for everyone.
So talk a little bit about MLK and the legacy of that. For me, his words and message still rings true. But there's a little bit of a pushback on people these days about, do we still need to, have these kinds of conversations?
We absolutely do. When do we need to stop? I mean, let's just look at the news.
I know,
Let's
Doris,
think
give
about
me that
things.
look like, what?
I'm like, no. I mean, yes, we've made some advances, but not nearly enough.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we find every day, and I can speak from, the NAACP's perspective, we get complaints about racism, discrimination daily from people. People are experiencing this. We see it in the news. We hear it every day. So if someone thinks that it's not happening and we don't need his message and we don't need to keep fighting and moving forward and trying to make sure that we have an even playing field, then I don't know where they're living, because they can't be living in the United States of America, because it's everywhere. And we know this. So that's our job, right? It's on our watch to keep this dream alive, to keep moving forward, to keep pushing that envelope and not allowing what's happening to be okay. Like we made a few advances, so we're okay. No, we're not. So many people still need the support, help. So many people are fighting daily to keep their jobs, or facing racism or discrimination, or not having the opportunities or the access. That's ongoing. And Dr. King's dream was about us getting along. You hear about people, and there's some deep-seated hate in people. And so we have to talk about it. We have to keep it alive, and we have to keep making sure that, not because this conference really brings everyone together, but this is an ongoing thing that we need to do in our communities. Really talk about the people who care about civil rights, about moving forward, about being equal, and that everyone having opportunity and access. That's what he talked about. That's what he dreamt about, that we can get along and live, and that we would have the same things. We deserve a piece of the American dream. Everyone does. So no, his dream continues. We try to keep it alive. His legacy is important, but there's so much work to do. And when we talk about what's happening in our communities, we have to keep talking about people like Dr. King. He's only one person, and we focus on him, but there's others who worked with him. And
Honorable Lewis is still around.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
You know,
and we stand on their shoulders. And they opened up some of the doors, but we got to keep moving forward so we can get through the doors. So
Yeah.
And keep them open.
Right.
And keep them open.
And it's important for us to start early, teaching our young people early on about not only Dr. King, but other historical figures. Like, so if we looked at this as even a kickoff point for educating the young people and for parents to educate their children. So it's incumbent upon those of us that are educators, certainly, but it's also incumbent upon us as a community to keep teaching our children, because if we don't, who will? And so this way, even if it's a kickoff point to talk about his promises, to talk about what he stood for, to talk about civil rights, to talk about what's important, and to give them a sense of history, because, if you don't know where you were, if you don't know your history,
you don't know where you're going,
then you don't know where you're going. And so I think if for no other reason, this also sheds a light for us to as a reminder that we need to be educating our young people. So we start at kindergarten so that we can teach them, and then when students come back years later, college students come back years later when they're free to volunteer. Oh, I remember when I came to the conference and I did, I learned about a story, or someone taught me a poem, or, we were learning about Dr. King through artwork, or whatever the circumstances may be. That's our role, and that's our job as adults, to make sure that we're imparting this knowledge and that we can continue the legacy.
Well, it made a lasting impression on Dory Dumas. I mean, she grew up with this conference, and it has made a lasting impression. I mean, you still remember going to and you probably begrudgingly went, like your mama said, you going.
Right. Yeah, and I remember going to the Q House, because the Q House, I wanted to get that special T-shirt, because the Q House used to have a T-shirt that had the theme on it. And I can remember going over to the Q House, finding my little $12 or whatever it was to buy the T-shirt so that I could have it, as a souvenir. And I remember hearing about Dr. King from a long time ago, because my grandfather was a liaison at Yale, and when Dr. King came here back in the 60s, he took him around to the community.
Wow.
And I have
That's a wonderful history.
Yes. I have a picture that hangs in my house. It hangs in my school, of Dr. King, my grandfather, and the person that was the president back in the 60s of Yale University. So for us as a family, Dr. King was always in our house. I mean, really because we actually saw a live picture of him, a real picture of him. And my grandfather would talk about the importance of, what he stood for, and that we needed to honor that, and we needed to work toward it. So I had no other choice but to go to the Dr. King conference. And, as I got a little bit older, to, do my share of giving back, of working and helping as I could.
That's a wonderful story. All right, so tell the people one more time, this event is happening
So the event is happening Monday, January 21st, 2019 at Wexler Grant Community School, 55 Foot Street. It begins at 8:30 to 9:30 for breakfast, and then 9:30 the program, and runs all day until 3:30. And we have workshops, and our school children are ready to receive you. And one other thing, if people are interested, our students there are certainly doing a service-based learning, because Dr. King was always about service. So they're collecting bottles that they're going to be purchasing hats and gloves for the community. So if people have an opportunity to bring us some bottles or things like that, the students there will receive them, and then that's their give back and their services. Dr. King wanted us to help everyone. That's their service back to the community as well. So it's really making a difference in all of our community.
I like that. I was listening to a message from former President Barack Obama, and he was talking about now more than ever that this should be a day of service in our communities, because our communities so desperately need us.
Yes.
And I just was so moved by that, because oftentimes we hear the criticism, well, why does Dr. King have to be a day working? Because his life was about working.
It was about work.
And
for us, this is not work.
And this is not your job. This is community stuff.
This is community.
And it's important, and we have to make time for this. And this is a milestone year. 50 years.
50 years is big.
It's a milestone. And a lot of work, time, effort has gone into this. And we really want people to come out every year. But this is a milestone year. So we want to make sure that people understand that we are keeping his dream and the legacy alive. And that not just, it's a community thing. So it's not one group, one organization. It's everyone. And we just want people to come out and really participate.
And it's a wonderful day. And it's a long enough day where you could pack it with a lot of stuff. Yes. But it ends at 3:30. So if there's some other MLK stuff that you want to get to later in the day, you won't miss out. You can still go to those other activities that happen in the evenings and stuff like that.
And for parents, even if they have to work, they can make sure their child gets there. Their child will be in a safe environment, in a learning environment.
Oh, that's a good point.
And they can also, and then come back and pick their children up. So although we encourage parents to stay because there's workshops for them, but it certainly is an environment.
Some people have to work.
Some people have to work.
And it's not going to be a day off for them. But and I understand that. So that is a good point, that you can have your children someplace in a safe place, a learning environment where there are adults all around, and then you can come back and, maybe take in some of that yourself.
And we have volunteers that actually walk the younger students to the next class. I mean, it's a wonderful thing, because everyone, that's usually some of our teens or college students, but we have people walking them to the session, making sure they're in the session, making sure they get there safely. And so there's not a whole lot of wandering around. So yeah, it is a really wonderful and safe environment.
And I know the NAACP youth will be front center.
They will be there. And what we're doing is we're having them to do the voter registration, because that's the work of civil rights, and they need to be having hands-on. So there'll be some adults, but yeah, we're telling our young people, we're empowering you. Like we said, Dr. King is an example. He started as a very young
man.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's good, because then it gets back to, again, how the conference was established, because it was established for the young people, with them being empowered to conduct their own workshops, because they were addressing the issues and the needs that they felt were important to them. And so we're in empowering the young people. We're certainly embracing that legacy. And, and I know with talking with Jackie Bracey, they felt it was important to start training the young people early. And so those young Q House members and attendees, that's what they were doing. They were starting out young and helping themselves and helping to educate others.
I think that's a wonderful message for young people to sort of take, that Dr. King was he was a very young man when he started this work.
Yes.
He wasn't an older person. Like he was, he had already, I'm 55 and he had already passed by the time, you know what I mean? Like he was, he was a young man when he was doing this work. So, and so that's a good thing for young people to sort of like, you are the age where he started this work.
Right.
So you can do this work.
And everybody can do something. Everybody is valued, and everybody has a voice, and everybody can contribute.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me say this. Thank y'all for coming today.
Thank you for having
And
us.
happy Founders Day to
That's
the
right.
Sisters of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
111 years of sisterhood and supreme service
Yes.
to all mankind.
We love that.
Continuing.
You
the
know, my
legacy.
sorors, we just celebrated
Yes.
our 106. And,
Yes.
You did.
and so I love when I see the timeline because like all these Black Greek organizations are around the same time. So
Yes.
it's like a snowball effect.
Yes.
You're like,
And
what?
everyone's getting excited and getting pumped up. It's
just
beautiful.
a wonderful Divine
It is
Nine
beautiful.
experience.
It is. And I relish my Divine Nine experience. I really do. I think, we don't talk much about the work that we do in our communities as a Black Greeks. But we do a great deal of work.
We have such an impact. And this is the importance of this event, because there's no event that I believe other than me coming together for NAACP, but that all of the organizations can sit at the table.
Yeah.
Because it is open. So
that's all. That's the Black women clubs and the Prince Hall Masons. And you know what I mean? Like
the
Eastern Stars.
All of the groups. So look for some emails and information in August, because that's when we start planning. August, September, when we come back to school, because there's a seat at the table for everybody.
See, that's how Black people do. There's always room for one more.
There's always room for one more.
Yeah.
Always room. Thank you, women.
Thank you for having us.
I so enjoyed this.
Thank you. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you giving us this platform. And we really, again, just want to encourage people. Everybody, come on out.
Come out.
On Monday.
MLK Day.
Rain,
It'll lift
sleet,
your
snow,
spirit.
Or sunshine.
That's it.
And we have done it in snowstorms, but we're going to not speak that. Let's just have everyone come out.
Sunny days.
It'll be warm inside. It'll be warm inside.
Come on down to Wexler Grant School.
Well, thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna play us out with some words from MLK.
Yes, I love it.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. Dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, "My country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, "Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last."